Hello, my name is Anurag. Today I'll be presenting a short presentation on data visualization with Python. So, the first and most important thing is Pandas. So, what is Pandas? Pandas is a Python library for data manipulation. As shown on the slide, first it's an external library, so you'll have to install it. If you're using normal Python, you can install it using the pip install pandas command, or else if you're on a conda environment, you can use conda install pandas. And also an important point to note is that pandas has a dependency on numpy, so you have to install numpy along with pandas. And then when you want to use the pandas library in your code, you have to first import numpy and import pandas. The general convention is we import numpy as np and pandas as pd, so that it will become easy for us to use it in our code. Now the main data structures in pandas. Pandas has two main data structures to work with the data. The first one is the series data structure. A series can be thought of as a one-dimensional array with index and associated values. A data frame, on the other hand, is the other data structure, and it can be thought of as a two-dimensional array consisting of rows and columns. The rows are all indexed and the columns have column names. You can think of each column in the data frame as an individual series object. And now when we want to work with pandas, usually we don't generate the data on our own. It would have been stored in some external file, and the most popular formats are CSV and Excel. Therefore, pandas has handy functions to read and write into these formats. To read into the data frame, the command is pd.read CSV or pd.read Excel with the corresponding file names. And along with this basic syntax, it also has additional optional arguments which can help you to pre-process the data while you are reading it into the data frame. Similarly, to write the data into CSV or Excel formats, you can use the handy toCSV or toExcel functions. And the left hand side of these statements would be the data frame name variable which you want to store the data frame into. Now some fundamental pandas operations. The first one is dataframe.head, which returns the first n rows of the data frame. If you leave n, the default value it takes is 5. Similarly, tail, it fetches the last n rows of the data frame. Again, if you specify n, it fetches that many, or else the default is 5. And then index. The dataframe.index will let you know what is the index of the current data frame. If you have not specified anything, pandas automatically generates integer index starting from 0 to n-1. And then df.columns returns a list of all the column names of the data frame in order from left to right. And then df.info returns the basic information of the columns of the data frame, such as what are the column names, what are the type of each column, how much memory is occupied by the entire data frame, and so on. Then df.describe. If your data frame has any columns which are numerical values, df.describe will compute the basic statistical information like the total number of instances, and then the mean value, the median, the 25th quartile value, the 75th quartile value, and so on. df.transpose can help you transpose, that is, make the rows into columns and columns into row. The next, df and then open bracket with the column name, it will fetch that particular column of the data frame and it returns it, which is basically the series object. And then if you want to slice the data frame to obtain certain rows and certain columns, you can use the df.lock command. Here you enter the rows for which you are interested, and here you enter the columns for which you are interested. If you want all rows and all columns, you put open square bracket colon comma colon, which will fetch all rows and all columns, or else you specify the certain range, say for rows 0 to 5, and columns, whichever columns, the name of the columns. If you want to use integer values for columns, you have to use .ilock command. And then if you want to fetch a particular value, a particular cell in the data frame, you use df.at which row and which column. It returns that particular cell value. And you can do the same operation using .lock. However, .at has been optimized so that it runs faster. And then along with that, sometimes we wish to clean the data so that it's better to handle. These are some basic operations which we want to perform. For example, if we want to extract certain columns, certain values from columns, we can apply Boolean condition checking using normal statements like this value is greater than 500, or this value is less than 1000, or it's within a certain range. Pandas makes applying such operations on the data frame easy. Also, normal arithmetic operations can be applied to columns. Say we want to store the sum of two. If we have a data frame which stores the marks card of a student and we want to compute their total, if we just provide the data frame marks 1 plus marks 2 plus marks 3, automatically for each row in the data frame, it will do the addition and store it in the new column. Grouping, which is implemented by the group by function, helps us to group the columns which have unique distinct groups. Say if we have gender, male and female, if we apply group by on that column, it returns a group by object on which we can perform further operations, where each group is a distinct value. So all males would have been considered as one group, all females would be considered as one group. And finally, the data which we receive is usually not clean, and there is a chance that we'll have null values. Pandas provides many functions to handle such null values. And then after we are done with all the data, generally we want to get a visualization of the data to understand more about it. For that, matplotlib is the basic library in Python, and there is another library called Seaborn which is built on top of matplotlib, and it enables us to produce beautiful graphs much more easily. The respective import statements are given as follows. And then using the Seaborn library, we can have some basic plots. The first one is a scatter plot, which basically takes each data point and just represents it as a dot on the plot. For that, we just give SNS, which is the library, dot scatter plot, the corresponding x values and the corresponding y values. And then another one is a line plot. A line plot it's a scatter plot where all the points have been connected by a line. Similarly, its format is SNS dot line plot, the corresponding x values and y values. And then Seaborn also has a handy linear regression plot, which basically means it provides a scatter plot, and it also computes the best fit line for all those points, which is linear regression, and it puts it into the plot for us. The command is sns.lmplot. We have to provide the data frame object for which we are plotting, and then in that x and y, instead of providing the actual values, we just specify the column names as strings. And then a bar plot. Bar plot basically plots the bar values of each. It's sns.barplot, the x values and the y values. Box and whiskers plot is important because it shows us the median, interquartile range and any outliers for the data. It helps us get a statistical information of the data. For that, it is sns.boxplot, the x values and y values. And then histograms can be plotted using the sns.distplot x, just the x value. If you don't provide kd equals false, it automatically draws a kernel density estimate for you. If you provide it as false, it will suppress that function. These are some other helpful matplotlib functions. plt.show will display the current plot. plt.title, it will set the title for the plot which you want. And if you have many lines on the same plot and you want to provide more information to the user, you can use plt.legend. And then all those previous commands for Seaborn, they return an axis object. So matplotlib functions, there are two main objects, a figure object and an axis object. So those previous Seaborn functions return an axis object. On the axis object, you can perform various functionalities like axis.figure.savefigure if you want to save the plot, .set xlim or ylim, so you can set the range of values for the axis. It is a start value and a stop value. And then axis.set ylabel or xlabel to set the label for that axis. And then axis.twinx, so if you want to have a single x-axis and two y-axis on the plots, you use .twinx. And then plt.clf will clear the figure, so it cleans the graph so that you have an empty plotting sheet. And what I showed just now was just the very fundamental. For each of these functions, there are multiple optional arguments which you can pass according to your needs. And all of these can be found in their official documentation, which is very well written and maintained. And now I'll give a quick demo of these functions. So generally, while using these functions, we use Jupyter Notebook because it enables us to quickly see the values. We don't have to write the entire code. So as explained, first we have to import the libraries. So we are importing NumPy NP and Pandas SPD. And then this example is shown using a dataset DC Wikia data, which contains superhero information from the DC universe. So it's a CSV file, so we are using the corresponding read CSV function to read it into, and we are storing it in a data frame object which we are calling comics. So this is the complete data. As we can see, since it has auto-generated an index for us, and these are all the columns, each row describes one sample in the data set. It has multiple columns. So comics.head will, since we are not providing any n value, we'll get the first 5 instances from the top. As you can see, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, the first 5 instances have been fetched. Similarly, tail will return the last 5. So here there are about 6,896 samples in the entire data set. So the last 5 have been picked. If you want a specific number, say 10, we just pass n equals 10. Index will tell us what is the index of this current data frame, and it's an integer index starting from 0 to 6,896. So it will be n minus 1 will be the last value and stepped by 1. Columns will return all the columns in the data set, all the names, so page ID, name, URL slug ID and so on. These are all the columns in the data set from left to right, it's in order. Info will provide just the basic information like the total number of entries, what is the range, how many columns, the name of the columns, this is the index the index number of the column if you want to access using ilog command, and then how many values are there, how null, non-null values, and what is the data type. And then some of these are integers, so we can use describe, which will fetch how many instances, non-null instances, what is the mean of all these values, the standard deviation and so on. At a glance it gives us some general information about the data. And then if you want to fetch a particular column, say name, if we use this, we can fetch the corresponding series object. So we get the index and the associated value. And then we can check whether there are any null values in our data by using isNA. IsNA will return true or false, where true would represent it's null and false means it's not null. Some will just tell us how many instances are there. So as we can see, if you don't have any null values, but this one column GSM has almost entirely null, so we may want to remove that column. So we can use the .drop command. Drop will remove those associated columns from the data set, and we have to use in place is equal to true, because then it will operate on the same data frame, or else the drop would have happened but you are not storing the result anywhere. So in this data frame, that GSM column is no longer there. And then if you want to perform any arithmetic operation, so say for example, we want to calculate the percentage of appearances with respect to the maximum. So pandas has functions like .max, .min, .mean, .std to retrieve all the information. So basically we pick the column, we get its maximum and we are storing the value. And then if this popularity column does not exist, and we assign it, it automatically appends it to the data frame for us. So it's like creating a new column called popularity, and then its computation is the values for each comic's appearance divided by the maximum and multiplied by 100. So this would perform it for all the rows in the data set, and this format is it's better than doing a for loop from the starting to the last value, because this performs faster than iterating through each and every row. So if we observe, a new column popularity has been added at the end and it has been calculated. Some of the values at the bottom are NA, so correspondingly even those values are being filled in as NA. And if you want to get rid of all those, pandas has functions like drop NA, fill NA to handle those null values. Drop NA would just drop those samples, but sometimes we want to retain those samples. In that case, we can fill those NA values. For that, there are multiple procedures. You can either forward fill. So based on the value of one row, if the next value is NA, we copy over the same value. Or else we can backward fill. So if the previous value is NA, we just copy that value. Or else we can compute the mean and fill all NAs with the mean. And there are many ways. Depending on your data sample, you can handle the null values. And then this feature is called Boolean masking. So basically we are checking with the column's appearance greater than 500 and we are storing that result. If we run it, we get true and false. True means that value fulfills this condition, and false means that condition has not been satisfied. And then we can apply such Boolean masks directly to the data frame. So here. And by doing so, what happens is it picks only those portions of the data frame which have that mask as true. So initially we had around 6,800 data points. Here only 30 match the condition. The rest all have been ignored. And then group by. If you want to group, we can group by align. So align basically says whether they are a good character, bad character, or such. So we can group by align. So it splits the data frame into group by objects having similar label, and then we can get a count. So there are these many bad characters and these many values are not null. Some of them are lower because they have null values. And then for plotting we consider another, first we have to import, and then we consider another small dummy data set which has ice cream sale data. So for the day, how many ice creams were sold. It's an Excel file, so we use read Excel command. Again, it has a auto-generated index. The first column is the day, which is the day number, and how many ice creams were sold on that day. So first, scatter plot. You can see a scatter of all. The axes have been auto-generated. However, if you want finer control, you can set those parameters on your own. And then line plot. It provides a line. And then bar plot. So by seeing all this, we may infer that a bar plot might be more suitable for this data set, because it clearly gives us for each day what was the ice cream sold. And then the linear regression plot. So for this data set, it thinks that this is the best fit line. And then a box plot for some statistical information. So this box represents the 25th to 75th quartile. This line generally represents the cutoff value at the lower end and higher end. Since this is a small data set, it finds the minimum and maximum, but sometimes we have outliers. In such a case, those outliers would appear as points beyond this range. And then the central line is the median. If it's exactly in the middle of the box, it means that the data is not skewed. However, here we can see the data is skewed. And then a distribution plot. So this is the distribution plot, histograms, and this is the KDE. We have not provided any information on it, so it's automatically assumed to be true. However, we can control it by setting it to false. Bins would determine how many bins we want to separate the histogram into. So we can see it's plotting. Thank you.